American families. That's what we've been doing. That's what we're going to continue to do, while Democrats just vote no. They hide, they lie, they try to talk about what they would do if they were in power, but of course everybody knows what they did when they were in power. They moved a far-left socialist agenda. They're about to elect as their new party leader a socialist Marxist mayor of New York City. And half the Democrats, they all want to meet him and take selfies with him, and yet they're not sure if they're going to endorse him or not. But the bottom line is that's where their party has moved, in Washington, in New York. But that's not where America is. Republicans are delivering for Americans, for hardworking families, all across the political spectrum. And that's why this economy is finally starting to move in the right direction. Our speaker, who's never slowed down, who's never accepted failure as an option, the man who continues to work and is so patient, listen to our members, and then ultimately delivering with President Trump on this great agenda, is our Speaker, Mike Johnson.
Thank this leadership team and all of you. Good morning. Thank you. Representative Kagan's doing an extraordinary job for Virginia and our military families and all of the issues she works so hard on. Thank you for all that hard work. I tell you what, it's been an exciting 6 months. Sunday, as you all probably know, marked the first 6 months of the Trump presidency, the second term. The 47th president has had an incredible run. We're on a winning streak. America's hot again. We're bringing back strength and prosperity and capitalizing and delivering on all the campaign promises that President Trump made on the campaign trail and that all Republicans did by extension. We're really proud of that. And I tell you what, history is going to record this to be one of the most consequential, extraordinary first 6 months of any administration ever, because we have unified government. The voters in this country gave Republicans the chance to turn this mess around, and we are. So we have the White House and the Senate and the House, and we're using it effectively every single day. And here in the House, we've kept pace with President Trump's extraordinary momentum. He never sleeps, and so we don't get to either. We've been codifying his executive orders at a record pace. We're cementing America First policies into law. We're enacting the full scale of the Trump administration's agenda, with the passage, of course, of the One Big Beautiful Bill, sort of a capstone of the first 6 months. And we've accomplished so much in just that time period. And I think the key is we've done that with unity. As you all have noticed, it's very deliberate. We work very closely, hand in hand, the Senate and House Republicans, as one united team. That's kind of an innovation in Washington, but a very important one. And we've demonstrated that that unity is how we deliver. There's no majority in the history of this body that can wield power unless it stands together. And so I work really hard. We all do. This leadership team does every day to keep everybody rowing in the same direction. This morning at our weekly conference meeting, we discussed the upcoming schedule, given the Democrats' endless efforts to politicize the Epstein controversy and that whole investigation. I want to be clear about this. There's a reason behind what we are doing here. We have a responsibility, actually a dual responsibility here, okay? I've been on record very clearly that I believe in maximum transparency. I think every single House Republican will say the same thing. In fact, they've told me that publicly and privately. They talk about this. We want maximum transparency. We also understand the other part of that duty is that we have to protect innocent victims, okay? We have to do both things at the same time. What do we mean by that? Look, involved in the Epstein evil, okay, which is what it was. Just call it what it was. There are innocent victims of those unspeakable sex crimes, okay? Some of them were minors, some of them were not. When the Epstein records are turned over to the public, which we must do as quickly as possible, we have to also be very judicious and careful about protecting the innocent. I think everybody in the country should understand the necessity of that. It is the standard. I used to be a litigator. It's the standard in the court of law and the courts. It's the standard in law enforcement. Anyone who's served in law enforcement understands the necessity of that. It is the standard with government agencies. We protect the innocent. So we cannot be careless in an open release like that. You have to be very careful. The president himself has said that he wants maximum transparency and all credible evidence to be turned over to the American public so that everyone can make their own decisions. We're owed that. And we want any individual who has been involved in any way in the Epstein evils to be brought to justice as quickly as possible. And the law should be brought down upon their head. We're unequivocal about that, okay? We have to make sure that the credible evidence is revealed, and we're doing that. The president has made a request to the courts in the grand jury testimony and the files there, for example. And the court should turn that over. and that will be a continuing and ongoing quest. Now, what we refuse to do is participate in another one of the Democrats' political games. This is a serious matter. We are not going to let them use this as a political battering ram. The Rules Committee became the ground for them to do that. We're not going to allow them to engage in that charade anymore. Why do I call it a charade? Because the Democrats are trying to play gotcha politics right now when, as the leader just pointed out, they don't have any moral high ground on this at all. They controlled the Department of Justice for the last 4 years. Has anyone forgotten? They had all these files the entire time. They sat on everything Epstein related for 4 long years while President Biden was in office. You could draw your own conclusions as to why, but we've been intellectually consistent the entire time. And I want to say this about my colleagues Ro Khanna and Jim McGovern and Hakeem Jeffries and so many others. They've tweeted about Epstein countless times in the last 2 weeks, but go back and look at their social media accounts, we have, and their public comments. They had exactly 0 posts on the subject for the last 4 years of the Biden administration. Interesting, isn't it? We all understand that the America First agenda and the American people are best served by putting an end to the Democrats' sideshows. And that's what we're doing by not allowing the Rules Committee to continue with that nonsense this week. As was noted, we've got tons of very important work going on here. The leader just gave you a small sampling of it. But we're done being lectured on transparency by the same party that orchestrated one of the most shameless, dangerous political cover-ups in the history of this country or any government on the face of planet Earth. If the Democrats want to talk transparency, I'm happy to rewind the tape. 366 days ago, President Joe Biden was unceremoniously forced off the Democrat ticket. Everybody knows why. Even after millions of Americans had already cast their primary votes for him, the self-proclaimed party of democracy threw out their nominee, the sitting president of the United States, for his disastrous debate performance. On the debate stage, President Biden revealed to the American people what Democrats in Congress spent 4 long years trying to hide, that the President of the United States of America was in rapid mental decline and unable to continue serving as the leader of the free world. I'm going to say that again. The man holding the most powerful office on the face of the earth, who we now know was being propped up by his staff and Democrats in Congress, was in rapid mental decline. It was as shocking as it was dangerous, and they all participated in it. Nearly every single one of the Democrats who shamelessly attempted to pull the wool over our eyes still holds office today. You ought to be chasing them down the hallways asking for their responses on that. We released a 14-minute long video yesterday with just a small sample of the countless receipts of the Democrats at every level spinning this fantastical lie to the American people. I encourage every reporter in this room to go watch that. You ought to use the clips and you ought to go ask them about it. And remember that the same Democrats who lied to us for years are now trying to convince you they stand for transparency. They participated in one of the greatest political scandals in all of history, and the House Republicans are not going to allow this to be whitewashed from the historical record. We'll continue to investigate and shine light on those who perpetrated this and provide answers directly to the American people. Now, President Biden's mental condition was poor, but his legacy of achievement in office was even worse. And I've said many times, after those 4 years of Biden and Harris, every single area of public policy was in a disastrous state. In Congress and the White House, we've been hard at work from day one of this Congress, day one of the Trump administration, trying to undo all that damage of the last 4 years. And we're laying the foundation for what will make our country safer, stronger, and more prosperous than ever before. The American people gave President Trump a clear mandate to enact his America First agenda, and Republicans answered the call. To date, we've enacted 50 of the president's executive orders, from reining in bureaucratic waste, fraud, and abuse, to passing common sense legislation, to delivering our once-in-a-generation legislative victories through the One Big Beautiful Bill. Let me give you a quick summary. Americans asked for secure borders and safer communities, and Republicans delivered the largest investment in border security and interior enforcement on record. And with the Halt Fentanyl Act and the Lake and Riley Act, we're making sure American communities are safe from deadly drugs and illegal aliens that have taken far too many lives. The American people asked us for bigger paychecks and more affordable gas and groceries, and we delivered on that too. We delivered the largest working and middle-class tax cut in the history of the United States. And we've torn down Biden-era regulations like the California EV mandate that was just madness, and worked against working families and American energy dominance. The American people demanded fiscal sanity, and Republicans delivered again. We passed more than $1.5 trillion in spending cuts so the government can begin to live within its means again. All of this is real, positive change for American families. The kind that they are going to directly feel in their bank accounts, they're going to see it in their neighborhoods, and they're going to count on it for years to come. Any of these individual feats as standalone bills would have been considered historic achievements by any Republican Congress. And we got them all done, all together, in one big, beautiful bill. And the more the American people hear about that bill, the more they like it. There was a Harvard Harris poll that recently surveyed the individual titles, the individual pieces of the big bill, and they found that 17 of the 21 major proposals polled had a majority of support. That's including things like reducing federal spending and imposing common sense work requirements on public assistance. But while the American people continue to learn about the bill, they'll also begin to feel its positive effects because we did this on a very aggressive timetable. As you all know, we put it on an ambitious timeline to be delivered. Many in this room said it wouldn't succeed. You wrote about it. I read all that. That's fine. We said we needed 6 weeks to craft our House budget resolution, and we passed it in February. We said we'd pass our House version of the One Big Beautiful Bill by Memorial Day, and we beat that deadline by 4 days. We said we'd pass it through both chambers and get it to the President's desk for signature by July 4th. And what happened? We had a big, beautiful signing ceremony at the White House on Independence Day. It was a historic day, and it's a testament to what this House Republican Conference can accomplish when we remain united and working towards a common goal. Last thought here, on closing note, this is the last leadership press conference before we enter the August district work period. Around here, people call it the August recess. It is not that, okay? So I know that lots of people in the press corps are going to be able to enjoy some downtime with friends and families, and we commend you for that, but House Republicans aren't going to get to participate in all that stuff, because this month of August is not a vacation. This is arguably the most important work month on our calendar. Why? Because our members go home, they connect with their constituents in person, they host roundtables with local businesses and organizations, they meet with community stakeholders and local officials, really, really important components of the job. And frankly, they need to cut through the false and misleading claims about the One Big Beautiful Bill from the media and the Democrats. As I mentioned, the more people know, the more they greatly favor the bill that we passed. And House Republicans are going to spend the month highlighting how it will positively impact our districts and our communities. With that, I'll take a few questions.
Mr. Speaker.
Chad.
Good morning. You say yesterday that you were in lockstep with the administration on the Epstein files, but it doesn't seem that you're in lockstep with all of your House Republicans. Thomas Massey was saying in the past hour that this is going to come back and bite Republicans. What do you say to those schisms inside your conference here?
I say Thomas Massey is the one trying to bite Republicans, okay? I'm not quite certain what his strategy is.
But it's just not him. I mean, otherwise you guys wouldn't be calling off the week tomorrow. You'd be able to put your rules on the floor. I understand the issue with the Democrats.
Yeah, no, I just explained why. We're not going to play political games with this. We've all been very clear and transparent. The House Rules Resolution sets a good standard and requires all credible evidence to be released, and that's exactly where the White House is. There's no, as I've said many times over the last, as I've said many times, there's no daylight between the White House and the House. You have to allow the legislation to ripen, and you also have to allow the administration the space to do what it is doing. The President has said clearly, and he has now ordered his DOJ to do what it is we've all needed DOJ to do for years now, and that is to get everything released. So they're in the process of that. There's no purpose for Congress to push an administration to do something that they're already doing. And so this is for political games. I'm very resolute on this. We can both call for full transparency and also protect victims. And if you run roughshod or you do it too quickly, that's not what happens. But I'm convinced that the DOJ is going to do their job, the administration is going to do their job, and we'll do our job. And so we'll see to it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to follow up on that, I know before when you were asked whether or not you would back Mr. Massey for re-election, you didn't give a direct answer. He had some harsh things to say about your leadership yesterday related to the Epstein files. Have you made up your mind whether or not you would support him or back him against the presidential
So here's the, as the leader of my party, I lead the Incumbent Protection Program. Okay, that's my job. I go all around the country. I travel endlessly, incessantly. I have to raise over $300 million to do that, and we want everybody to come back. And some people, I try to protect them from themselves, you know. They kick and scream and bite their own colleagues. Some people seem to enjoy trying to inflict political pain on their own teammates. I'm not going to address anybody individually, but I'll tell you that some here are much more frustrating than others. There's a small, tiny handful, but one in particular who's given me lots of consternation. I don't understand Thomas Massey's motivation. I really don't. I don't know how his mind works. I don't know what he's thinking. Thomas Massey could have brought his discharge petition any time over the last 4.5 years. over the last 4 years of the Biden administration. He could have done that at any time. And now he's clamoring as if there's some sort of timeline on it. It's interesting to me that he chose the election of President Trump to bring this, to team up with the Democrats and bring this discharge petition. So do I have some concern about that? I do. But you know, in me and my way, I try to follow Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment, never speak evil of another Republican. My gosh, it's hard to do sometimes around here. I also try to follow the scripture. You know, it says, bless those who persecute you. So let me just say about Thomas Massey, could you just accept my Southern, bless his heart, okay? I don't know what else to say about it. We're for maximum transparency. We're engaging in that right now, and we don't need political games. Yes, ma'am, over here. Yes. Wait, I was pointing to her. Go ahead, sir.
So health insurance companies are requesting 15% premium increases for next year. They're citing the expiration of Obamacare subsidies. Are Republicans thinking about this? Is there any possibility of extending those subsidies or any other things?
I think that goes to the end of the calendar year, so we'll have discussion about the issue later, but it hasn't come up yet. I mean, but it's on the radar. Back row, yes.
Two questions. First is, did the president or anyone in the administration ask you to delay the resolution until after recess?
No, but I, as you all know, I speak to the president multiple times a day on a typical day, often, always. And what I know about the president's heart on this is that he agrees with everything I've said here today. He wants maximum transparency, but he's also very insistent that we do not subject people who have already been victims of unspeakable crimes to further public scrutiny. And it would be a very dangerous thing to put those people's names out or to do a release of information in a way that is haphazard where they could be easily unmasked. And so you have to be very careful about how you do that. I think we have a moral responsibility to do that. We have a moral responsibility to expose the evil of Epstein, and everybody was involved in that. Absolutely. And we're resolved to do it. But we also have an equal moral responsibility to protect the innocent. And that is a fine needle to thread. And we could all give ourselves easy political cover and come out and do something in a haphazard fashion, but I would not be able to sleep at night because I know our legal responsibility. I understand what the legal standard is, but more than that, the moral standard, okay? So we're going to do this, and we're going to do it expeditiously. We're going to do it the right way. What is popular isn't always right, and what is right isn't always popular. I had an 8th grade teacher tell me that one time. I carried it with me my whole life. We're going to do the right thing here, and the American people at the end will see that we did that in the right way and on the right timetable. Yes, sir. Wait, hold on, wait a second. What'd you say? Wait, did she say it?
She did earlier.
Wait, come up here. I didn't hear her.
You
Come
gotta
on.
say it loud.
Stand right here and tell them. Tell them. Last question.
Last question.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Wait, over here under the clock. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, behind you. Right here. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Russia is still bombing Ukraine, and a lot of Ukrainian civilian people are still dying. Do you consider sanctions on Russia before the 15-day period?
We were talking about sanctioning Russia, but I think the House and the Senate agree that the White House, having given that deadline of 50 days, we need to allow the Commander-in-Chief and the administration and the Secretary of Defense and the Pentagon to do what they're going to do, and we'll see how that plays out. But I can tell you, the appetite here is that we've got to bring accountability to Vladimir Putin and make this war cease. We need peace over there. It's gone on too long. Too many innocent people are dying, and we don't want further American involvement in this at all. But I do think what NATO is doing and our allies around the world may be effective. I think we've all had enough of it, and we hope it comes to an end soon. But we trust the Commander-in-Chief. He's restoring peace through strength. This is a big part of that. Thank you all so much.
Voilà, c'était donc briefing ou bien point de presse parti républicain qui tapait évoqué là plusieurs cas de figure. Il parlait de action gouvernement, vote que vous prenez déjà même au niveau congrès américain, travail qui a poursuivre qui vous faites. Mike Johnson rappelait aussi que chef l'État américain voulait transparence pour mettre dehors dossier Jeffrey Epstein. Monsieur dit lui-même il souhaitait que vous arrêtez mettre en prison quel que soit mon nom, FL bien vite moun qui était participé dans le complot Amsain là, d'après ça que le fait qu'on est. Il est également accusé démocrate qui était chita sur dossier ça pendant 4 ans, qui pas mettre le dehors kounya, là propose bon papa yo. Johnson accusé démocratique de l'autre côté qui va régler un sérieux, il invite la population pour marcher des parlementaires démocrates dans le couloir parlement pour poser aux questions demander qui ça qu'il a réglé dans le parlement américain. Inviter moun al suivre parlementaire pour faire de bagages. Songez, c'est récemment là, parti républicain de réunion t'a demandé pour que moun citer un peu parce qu'il y a une parole qui incite à la violence. Il pas régler rien dans le congrès, donc c'est pour moun yo al marcher derrière, courir derrière, demander explication qui ça fait. C'est ça Mike Johnson l'a déclaré dans le cadre de Chita causé sur la mission. Il rappelle qu'un an passé de ça côté que Joe Biden il n'a pas vraiment possédé toute lucidité lorsque il était dans le débat avec Donald Trump. Il était pas retirer dans la course électorale là parce qu'il n'a pas gagné position pour mettre matériel et puis il n'a pas de côté également dans le cadre de Chiribitsa qui mettait Ukraine face à la Russie de Vladimir Poutine. Restez branché Pstars FM radio télévision. Pas oublier nous n'a tourné puisque n'a pas gagné devant le trône c'est à midi mais avant ça nous avons gagné le bulletin de nouvelles. Restez branché réseau pardon Pstars FM et puis m'a fait nous connaître tout. Balba nous information pour monde qui a besoin si besoin cave pour fermer si besoin chambre cave pour fermer là et bien m'a payé pour alba ou yon adresse m'a ba au téléphone côté que pour carreler madame C Félix Majorie il capable ba ou détail sur espace ça où tu as besoin pour loger corps pour dormir au moins pour organiser parce que l'offre tu as besoin côté pour reposer m'a ba au téléphone d'abord et puis tu as le conseil va communiquer nous adresse là c'est 561 402 5010 561 402 5010 relais dans le téléphone ça on m'a dit c'est Pstars qui voyez ou besoin là mais c'est surtout fille que le besoin OK c'est fille que le besoin garçon pas mettre pied pas relais dans le téléphone non depuis garçon mais depuis fille mettre relais nous toi de me parler nous monsieur parler dans le téléphone non nous connais nous ba numéro de téléphone là pour téléphone pour dans le major 561 402 5010 il pas besoin garçon relais c'est fille le besoin pour parler avec eux sous Kaisa qui vient pour fermer. D'accord? N'a pas wadi ça comme ça pour qui côté que pour aller sur intéressé avec lui. Ou ka prendre numéro de téléphone non ou relais 561 402 5010. Pas moi de me comme oublier tout, me connais son bagage qui un petit peu ils ont un bagage. Bah, on pas go cob. Il va contre cob, pas mon qui c'est va cob. Il va go cob. Est-ce qu'on puisse ça pas contre cob. Mais ce major il pas bon là sur pas balan, entendez? 561 402 5010 relais dans le téléphone ça et puis dis ce major et puis ça c'était vos pour le décaler, d'accord? Allez.
Economy worse. It's a slap in the face to working people who voted to bring down costs. Now introduce Vice Chair Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. This morning, I went on this interesting website called HouseRepublicanPriceHikes.com. And if you go on that website, you can see the increases in grocery prices starting from the beginning of this year. Beef prices, for example, are at an all-time high. Donald Trump promised that he was going to lower inflation on day one. He lied. Inflation has continuously increased. The most recent report has inflation increasing above expectations to 2.7%. Core CPI increased even more to 2.9%. And what are congressional Republicans doing? Nothing. In fact, it's even worse than that. They are actually ending this week early because they're afraid to cast votes on the Jeffrey Epstein issue. The Rules Committee is not meeting because they're afraid to cast votes to release the Epstein files. So you've got this Epstein issue affecting congressional operations and making sure that the congressional Republicans don't work on trying to lower costs. So this is an epic cover-up. Right? This is a cover-up of epic proportions where you've got the majority party literally having us leave Congress early and not having the Rules Committee meet because they don't want to deal with releasing the Epstein files. We should release the Epstein files. It is what Donald Trump campaigned on. It's what Attorney General Pam Bondi talked about this February when she said the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on her desk right now. Why don't we have that client list? And these are the questions the American people keep asking, and the story's not going to go away because at core, this is an issue about underage women who were sexually abused and assaulted. Attorney General Pam Bondi should not be protecting Jeffrey Epstein's legacy, nor his clients, nor should congressional Republicans be doing the same. With that, it is my honor to introduce our amazing field general for the DCCC, Congresswoman Susan Del Bene. She's done a fantastic job, and she's going to discuss what we talked about this morning.
Thanks, Vice Chair Liu and Chairman Aguilar. Good morning, everyone. This morning in caucus, we presented how we're holding House Republicans accountable for their disastrous agenda and our path to retake the majority. We hear over and over and over again from people back home that the top issue for them is affordability and lowering costs for everyday goods. By all accounts, Republicans have failed miserably in the time that they've had the trifecta. Prices are still rising, whether it's housing, health insurance premiums, or everyday things like food and groceries. Republicans broke their promise to lower costs. Their big, ugly law is just another broken promise. It rips coverage away from millions of people and will raise health care bills for everyone, regardless of what kind of insurance that they have. And it takes food off the table from hungry families and children. It guts funding for rural hospitals and increases ER wait times. Energy bills will go up for families across the country. Republicans did all of this to pay for tax breaks for the wealthiest few. Their agenda is cruel, it's extreme, and an absolute disaster. And the American people agree. In poll after poll, we see that the Republicans' bill is massively unpopular. The more people learn about it, the more they oppose it. The one lie Republicans keep telling themselves is that voters won't punish them in the midterms because the American people won't feel the pain of the cuts until after the election. Aside from the fact that this is exactly the kind of insincere political gamesmanship the public hates, it's also not true. In a matter of months, millions of people will see their health insurance costs go up by an average of 75%. Rural hospitals are already announcing they'll close down and cut services. So no matter how many legislative games that Republicans try to play, there's no hiding from the facts. The big, ugly law will devastate and have devastating consequences that will absolutely be felt by working families. Republicans are poised to lose the majority next year, and they know it. You can tell by the way they're behaving. They avoid in-person town halls because they're afraid to face the public when they have to talk about their big ugly bill. House Republicans are headed for the exits. We already have 3 vulnerable Republicans decide to retire or not run for re-election because they know they're not going to take the majority. And we know there are more with one foot out the door who may soon announce that they won't seek re-election. So in these last 6 months, Republicans have broken promise after promise, feeding into a larger narrative that reminds everyone that they don't work for the American people. They work for the elite, the powerful, and the billionaires. It's a theme we hear on the ground day after day. And if House Republicans would take the time to listen to their constituents back home, instead of only working and waiting for Donald Trump to tell them what to do, they would know. But instead, they blindly follow his orders that are hurting our economy and hitting the American families in their pocketbooks. And that's why they'll lose the majority. House Democrats will hold every single vulnerable Republican accountable for their betrayal against their communities when they supported the big, ugly bill. We have the better message, we have stronger candidates, and public sentiment is on our side. And next year, we'll have the gavels. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to Chairman.
Thank you, Chair Del Bene. Questions?
Thank you. House Oversight just approved a subpoena of Ghislaine Maxwell. What are the main questions? What are the leading questions that you have for her?
I'm not on the House Oversight Committee. I won't be. Yeah, I won't be in those meetings. But let me tell you our position. Donald Trump and House Republicans want to protect the rich and the powerful. It's the basis of their one big ugly bill, and it continues to be the theme when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. House Democrats want the truth to come out. We're going to continue to support those efforts. Donald Trump and his son and his closest friends spent years fanning the flame of this theory. And now we're holding them accountable. Do they want to protect the rich and the powerful, or do they want the truth? Those are the questions that the Oversight Committee hopefully will get to the bottom of. Nick?
On redistricting, I mean, I've heard Congressman Del Bene, how much harder will it be for Democrats to retake the House if Republicans go ahead with redistricting in Texas? And then, for that matter, do you want blue states to go ahead with mid-cycle redistricting as well?
You know, Republicans are running scared, and it's pretty clear that they know they can't win on their message with voters. They're not listening to them. So they're trying to rig the system, and they're going to try. They've brought this issue up in Texas. They shouldn't do it. They should be careful what they ask for, because they will make Republicans more vulnerable too, and we will compete in every single one of those districts. So Republicans will lose their job if this is the path that they go down. And the American people are against it. They want to make sure that that it's not politicians trying to pick their voters, but voters actually get to pick their representatives.
Let me add a California piece. I'll turn it over to the vice chair as well for his thoughts. It's our belief that we can't fight with one hand behind our backs. House Republicans passed this one big ugly bill that kicked 17 million people off of health insurance 2 weeks ago. And the first thing that they do after the celebratory high fives at the White House is push forward redistricting efforts to hold on to power. It doesn't sound like a group that's very confident in the policy that they passed. So they want to rig the system. But there should be a response. We can't let Texas go unanswered. And it's our belief that we should do whatever we can to protect democracy. We shouldn't stand on the sidelines while Republicans unwind districts in order to consolidate power to give Donald Trump even more ability to threaten our democracy and set aside the rule of law.
Thank you. In 2018, Democrats flipped the House by 40 seats. One reason it was such a big number is because Republicans thought they were smart when they did gerrymandered redistricting and made a bunch of Republican districts that were sort of Republican, and they thought they could win. Well, they lost them all in that wave. So Atlas Intel, one of the most accurate pollsters last term, came out with a new poll showing Democrats ahead +10 on the generic congressional ballot. So I dare Republicans in Texas and Ohio to do redistricting. I dare you to take incumbent Republicans right now and make their seats less safe, because we're going to flip them.
Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems as though the trust deficit between Republicans and Democrats have widened even more since the March CR, and now that they passed the reconciliation bill and decisions, as a member of leadership and as an appropriator, I'm just curious your thoughts heading into recess. How are you feeling about the appropriations process when you all come back? There won't be a lot of time to try to keep the government open. How are you feeling about just where the appropriations process stands? The Senate hasn't passed any bills. The House has only taken up 2 bills. They were party line votes. Just kind of take a step back and give me a state of play as we head into recess.
It's a pretty broken problem. It's a pretty broken system right now, the appropriations process. I'm not going to lie. This is a place where, and I think Kevin McCarthy, kind of started to break this process when he put Freedom Caucus members on the committee. He did that to try to become speaker and to hold the gavel, and we're suffering from that consequence now. The committee's always been a place where reasonable people come together, disagree, and then try to find some common ground and use the appropriations and budgeting process to find common ground to meet the needs of our constituents. We're struggling with that right now, and in the room you see that. Rosa DeLauro is an amazing leader. Tom Cole has a lot of respect, but when you continue to give power to Donald Trump and Russ Vought, who says the appropriations process should be less bipartisan, you're really lifting up some pretty dangerous actions and rhetoric, and we're seeing that. So it isn't just about the rescissions bill. It's about do we have a process or not? Do we trust that the executive is going to spend the money that we allocate? Article 1, Section 9, Clause 7, no money, but in consequence of appropriations. Like, do we stand behind that or not? And I think that's a question for our Republicans colleagues that they're going to have to mull this August, and we hope that they come back and feel a little differently than they have in the past. Appreciate the question. Allie? And then.
Are you concerned at all about the strength of Republican fundraising, and do your members need to do more in terms of giving dues or donating to front runners?
Look, I'll take the first try at that, and then I'll let Chair Del Bene. We need to do everything we can to gain the majority. Everything. Every single member, every way, every possible opportunity we can to help the team. That's what this needs to be about. And I would even argue some of this redistricting, discussion needs to be in that frame too. I understand that people serve different communities and different constituencies. If we have an opportunity to push back against some dangerous behavior that Texas is doing, we should do it. With the single focus of making Hakeem Jeffrey Speaker and protecting democracy and restoring some sanity back to this place. So every member should be giving dues, helping out, helping a colleague, doing town halls in other districts, filling the need that exists to drive our message and to communicate that we stand for rural hospitals. We stand for people getting health care. We stand for affordable living and an opportunity to make a living and realize the American dream. Those are things that we stand for as a party, and that we need to focus every member's attention on that.
Just to add that, public sentiment is with us. I've been across the country talking to folks. Folks are outraged and scared, frankly, about what's happened under this administration, and Republicans who have just let it all happen. But they rewarded their biggest donors with a big bill to tax breaks for the wealthiest and the well-connected, and they saw a benefit from that. But we have grassroots support across the country. It's strong. And when we have great candidates who are talking about the issues that matter on the ground, issues like lowering costs, making sure that people have health care, these are the issues that matter to folks in our districts, and that's absolutely, people are with us, and that's absolutely why we'll take back the majority.